I can remember that.
Mr. Page, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, preliminary matters on the AM docket. Case number 14714-18, Eastern Avenue, case postponed. Case number 25523 Bel Air Road, Class BD7, case postponed. I think we're going to go out of order.
That's fine.
Mr. Court Reporter, which case are we calling
Number
first?
4.
We're going to call case number 4 on the docket, 3547 Chestnut Avenue, Class B, beer, wine, and liquor license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Thank you. Good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of my civilian colleague, Mr. Bauer. I've been told that the applicants are at a wedding out of the country in the Turks and Caicos. And
You weren't invited?
I was not invited. And Mr. Bauer's in Ocean City, so everybody's doing pretty good. And so he would need a postponement, and I thank you all.
And when do they want this set back in? So when Mr. Bauer gets his pants back?
That could be a long time.
Mr. Chairman, if council could let us know, we'll try to accommodate.
Will do. Thank
Okay.
you.
Commissioners have any problem?
None. No problem.
Case is continued.
Thank you.
And then we're going to go back to number 3.
Case number 3, Moody's Place, 800 St. Paul Street, Class D, beer and wine license, an application to transfer ownership with continuation of outdoor table service. Please come forward.
Morning.
Chairman Abraham Hurd on behalf of IKEA Carter, Moody's Place LLC.
Good morning. Are you Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdle?
If I may proffer, Ms. Carter has got 1 year experience in the business. Her mother's got 18 years in the business and will be helping her run the place. They have a previous restaurant in a different part of the city, and this is going to be their primary focus going forward. We met with the community, I believe, Monday evening and discussed an MOU. I think it was signed just yesterday, and we do have a letter of support from the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association.
Okay.
And again, here's a copy of that MOU to submit for the record as well, sorry.
Thank you. These will be received.
The business does plan to have restricted hours. Again, we have more opportunity to be open than we plan to. I believe the restrictions are for 11 during the week
Yes.
and then 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. But again, we anticipate the situation will be that they'll be closing 7 or 8, maybe 9 for the most part. If the business is there or there's a special event, they'll be having that. They don't have live entertainment. They do have outdoor table service. We've asked that those be granted as well. If the board has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them now.
So it's a coffee shop restaurant?
No, it's like a soul food restaurant. It was a previous coffee shop.
I didn't hear what the last part you said. What kind of restaurant is it?
It's a soul food
Oh,
restaurant.
soul food. Okay. I didn't hear what you said.
Ms.
Okay.
Carter and her mother also run a hair salon next door.
Yes.
And a lot of customers are always going out to find food in the area. There's no soul food restaurants in that part of the town.
Okay.
And they anticipate that a lot of the business will be driven by the hair salon as well as their referrals and so forth.
Okay. And Ms. Carter, are you willing to have the terms of this memorandum become part of your license so that you're bound by it?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None. How many tables on the outdoor?
I think that there have been as many as like 6 two-tops. It's really not that much space. The property along St. Paul is maybe 60, 70 feet total, which I think is on the high side too.
And that's incorporated, I assume, in the MOU?
The MOU, I think, allows for outdoor table service. I don't believe there's a restriction on the number of seats. Ms. Carter and Ms. Richter from the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association had a discussion about possible ways to make it feel more comfortable outside because St. Paul can be loud. And they're going to continue that discussion so that they can get the most number of seats because that corner could use kind of that environment going forward.
Thank you.
Okay. I was just trying to picture where 800 St. Paul, what's the cross street?
Madison.
Oh, okay.
It's like a half basement type location.
Okay. Anything?
None.
Mr. Jones? Okay. Thank you. Anything further?
No.
All right. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from counsel, the testimony, as well as the letter of support from the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association dated February 12, 2020, and the memorandum of understanding between Moody's Place LLC and the Mount Vernon Belvedere Improvement Association. I'd vote to approve the transfer of ownership of this Class D beer and wine license with outdoor table service, subject to the terms of the memorandum of understanding to the extent they're enforceable by law.
I concur with the chair.
I approve the application for transfer of ownership with the continuation of outdoor table service, subject to the terms of the MOU to the extent they're enforceable by law.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. May be excused.
Stacy, yes.
Medical exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, letter of support from Mount Vernon Belvedere Community Association. Board Exhibit 2, MOU.
We're going back in order at this time. Jack's Bistro, 3123 Elliott Street, Class D, beer, wine, and liquor license. A request to reopen under Article 12-2203, where the license premise has been closed for at least 3 consecutive months, and a 180-day hardship extension under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
Your name, sir?
Theodore Stelzenmuller.
Mr. Stelzenmuller, will you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, so we had a letter from you about reopening, and I think we also have a letter requesting, well, it might be to the same extent, but, so what's the status right now?
So we're in the midst of, I basically own the liquor license, and I sold the business to a good friend, colleague of mine, and they're rebranding and going to reopen. They just had issues with construction running long.
Okay.
And, you know, he's here if you have any questions for him.
Just, do you have a target on reopening?
I think it's going to be within the next 2 months.
Okay,
They're very, very close.
okay. All right, commissioners have questions?
None?
Just a clarification, so this is a request for a hardship extension and a request to reopen.
Yes.
It's both.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, Akers, how you doing?
It's okay. It's all right. It's nothing to worry about. Tom Akers, Deputy Executive Secretary. There's a management agreement, and I think.
Right here.
No, don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah,
So,
can you be sworn?
yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. So I spoke with the licensee maybe about 2 weeks ago. He's putting in this hardship request and a request to reopen. There's a management agreement. Although he sold the business, he still owns the
Retained the
license.
license.
Yeah.
And so he has a management agreement here that he'd like to submit,
Yes,
right?
that is correct.
That he'd like to submit to be incorporated with the license. That way we know who's managing the operations.
So you're working pro bono now, Mr. Akers?
Not working pro bono
I
per
don't
se.
recommend it.
But if the board does allow the request to reopen, then there'll be some items that the licensee has to provide to the
Counsel,
board.
this is an undated document somebody should fill in. I know you're not getting paid, but you could. at
I
least-
apologize. You should probably date that.
This is what happens when you get a chef up here.
It's okay, you're doing fine.
There we go.
Thank you, it'll be
you.
received.
And if the board does approve both the 180-day hardship and the request to reopen, licensee will have until August 3rd, 2020 to reopen. And there are a number of items that I can read off to him that he will need, but I'll stand down until the board makes its decision.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioners have questions?
None?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Stelzenmuller, am I saying that correctly? On the basis then of your testimony, that of Mr. Akers, the letters that you have submitted to the board, information contained in your request, and this management agreement, which, I don't know if you want the original back, but we'll need a copy for our records.
You can keep that.
Okay. I would vote to approve the 180-day hardship extension to allow the license to be reactivated and then reopen, and I'd also grant the reopen request.
I also approve the request for reopening and the 180-day hardship extension.
Yeah, I approve the 180-day hardship extension and the request to reopen.
Good luck.
Thank you, everybody.
And if I may, just on the record, before you reopen, you're going to have to provide the board with a trader's license, updated trader's license, and updated, I'm going to give you this letter.
Okay.
Don't worry about it, we're good. A city health department permit, an updated city use and occupancy permit,
sales tax license, and proof that your corporation's in good standing. Okay, and I have no problem, I'll give you this letter, no problem taking out, step out and talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like all exhibits for the record, licensee Exhibit 1, management agreement.
Encantata, 800 Key Highway, Class B, beer, wine, and liquor license. A request to reopen under Article 12-2203, where the license premise has been closed for at least 3 consecutive months, and a 180-day hardship extension request under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Stuart Caplow, counsel for your licensees, and standing beside me today is Rebecca Hofberger, American Visionary Art Museum founder and president.
Spell your name or do you have a business card?
Kaplow. Stuart, Stuart.
Okay, and would you raise your right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we have a letter requesting or advising us that the previous restaurant on the premises of the Visionary Arts Museum had closed and left, and that there is a new one that is coming in to replace it. Right, and so this is a request for 180-day hardship extension to allow that to occur and to be able to reopen. And I was just handed a letter dated February 12th from Justin Williams. I guess it's to the same effect?
Correct.
Okay. And maybe an amended application with an interim liquor license management agreement attached. All of that, Mr. Kaplan?
Correct. And there is an application for the transfer pending before the board, and the date has not been set, but likely in March or so. So that's why an interim management agreement.
And when do you think this new restaurant will be up and running?
We believe very soon. I believe the only inspection issue outstanding is a minor plumbing issue, so within a matter of days.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None?
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained here, including the letter from Mr. Thupari at DLA Piper, dated July 22, and the materials that were received today from Rosenberg Martin, Mr. Williams, the testimony received and proffers from counsel, I'd vote to grant the 180-day hardship extension and permit them to reopen.
I concur with the chair.
I grant the 180-day hardship extension and the request to reopen.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It's our 25th year, and I just thank you all.
It's a great place.
If I may, Commissioners, on the record, just because it's a request to reopen, there are some items that
Yeah, please.
licensee has to bring. We need, before you're allowed to reopen, we need current trader's license, city health permit, city use and occupancy permit, updated city sales tax license, and proof that the corporation is in good standing.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Licensee Exhibit 1, management agreement. Thank you.
Bank Discount Liquors, 1419-21 Bank Street. This is a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license, a request for hardship extension under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
Your name, sir?
My name is Seo Key.
Okay, and you are,
Yeah.
would you both raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you spell your first name, sir?
It's S-E-H-O. Last name is K-E-E. And my mom's name is D-E-B-O-R-A.
Okay. So Ms. Key wrote a letter to the commission on November 27, 2019, indicating she's trying to sell the business and wants a 180-day hardship extension to attempt to find an appropriate buyer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Anything additional to that?
That's it. I think that's, we submitted the letter to Mr. Akris and, just to try to extend and try to maybe.
Got any bites? Not yet.
It's tough.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None?
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the request, including the November 27 letter to the board from Ms. Key and the testimony received today, I'd vote to grant the 180-day hardship extension.
Okay.
Also agree to grant the 180-day hardship extension.
I would also grant the 180-day hardship extension.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the members of the
exhibits.
commission. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Rye, 1639 Thames Street, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. A request for a transfer hardship extension under Article 12-1705, small b. Please come forward.
Abraham Hurdle on behalf of Ryan Poberg and Rye LLC.
Mr. Purbo, would you raise your right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdle, you've written to the board back in December indicating struggling with inspections. You need an additional 90 days, is that correct?
That's correct.
Commissioners have any questions?
None?
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained with the request, including Mr. Hurdle's letter to the board of December 10, 2019, and his proffer this morning, I'd vote to grant the 90-day hardship extension.
I concur with the chair.
I would grant the 90-day hardship extension.
Good luck.
Thank you. Excused.
Thank you.
No exhibits.
Okay. With this wide audience, we will now transition to the latter part of our morning docket, which is that in which the board has decided that there's proposed legislation before.
Should I record this?
Yes, 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 yeah. There's proposed legislation before the General Assembly upon which the board wishes to comment, and specifically there are 3 bills that we want to address this morning. And under advice of the Attorney General's office, we must do this publicly in this forum, so we will take them up. First is House Bill 441, a bill entitled Protest of License Renewal Zoning Violations. And having reviewed the bill, I am of the opinion that we should oppose this legislation. I think it would create nothing but confusion between this commission and that of the zoning board, and I don't see that it has any benefits to the public. Generally, there was a 1970 Court of Appeals decision indicating that we should not be considering zoning issues in our renewals, and the legislation has complemented that to date, and I don't see a reason to change it. So I would vote to oppose it, and I want to hear from my fellow commissioners.
I concur with the chair. How is that?
Yeah, I think it does create 2 bites at the apple from a zoning perspective and could be confusing, and given the Williams case from 1970, I would agree with the chairman's position.
Okay. Second bill is House Bill 509, captioned Grounds for Suspension. This bill places authority for an immediate suspension in the hands of our executive secretary, a non-sworn member of the commission with no due process review. And I doubt that it's constitutional. And beyond that, I would oppose it. I don't see any purpose for this. The board already has the authority to suspend licenses under appropriate circumstances, and I don't know why it would be taken away from us and given to the executive secretary without a hearing. So I'm opposed.
I also oppose.
As much as I trust the good intellect and position of our good executive secretary, I would agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think there are some questions about appeal rights, and there's questions about the agency's liability if in fact a decision by the executive secretary is wrong. So I would agree with you that it's one we should oppose.
Finally, House Bill 924, captioned Distance Restrictions Extension Fee and Class D License. This is a bill that would purport to eliminate our extension fees when the request for these extensions come from nonprofit organizations. On that basis, I'm not in favor of it because we have expenses we incur with respect to all these things, and I don't see a reason to waive the extension fees. I think they're reasonable, and I think they serve a purpose. The bill also attempts to provide for us to allow for service of food on Sundays under these Class D licenses, and according to the Attorney General, we already have that authority in the commission, so it's unnecessary, and I would oppose the legislation.
I concur with the chair.
And I would concur for the exact same reasons the chairman outlined.
Yes. Want to be heard, Mr. Williams?
Please. For the record, Justin Williams, from resident Martin Greenberg. I'm a registered lobbyist for HB 924 on behalf of a different party that raised a separate issue in that legislation, which is for amending the school distance provisions for a licensee in a certain block in Highlandtown area. We have letters of support from the Highlandtown Community Association and the Southeast CDC, and we've met with members of the school board. There's a vacant building near the Highlandtown Elementary School that is going to be refurbished, ideally, and with a cafe or restaurant. And so that's a provision in the bill that separate, I guess it got combined by the delegates.
And that's your problem.
Right.
You need to separate it out.
If you would be willing to make your, I guess, disapproval based on the one issue as opposed to.
Well, and so the issue, the part of the bill that you're seeking approval for provides what?
So that it provides an exception from the general provision that prohibits licenses being issued within 300 feet of a school or church.
Do you know whether there's any opposition to that?
There's been none. So we've done tons of outreach. This is really in connection with a prominent Italian deli in the Highlandtown area potentially moving to this site. And people are really happy about that and seeing a warehouse be refurbished. But for the fact that it's within the 300 feet of a school. And so the community's in support. We've met with the principal and the PTA and.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's combined with the other provisions of House Bill 924, but that's not the basis for my opposition. I'd be willing to consider that separately.
Okay, so if your written or your report could clarify that.
Yeah, I would make the recommendation that, given the fact that this is a bill that has a number of different provisions in it that are doing seemingly different things, that we'd focus ours on those so that, there may be good portions of the bill that we have no issue with.
If you can call that out, maybe you can salvage your provision. Okay.
But I do have a question, though. The vacant property is a warehouse?
Yes.
How large is it?
I believe 50,000 square feet. It's been vacant for several years, and we actually have rezoning legislation in with Councilwoman Danielle McCray for that district to rezone it to allow commercial uses such as cafes and restaurants and delis.
So what's the intended use for it?
So we've submitted plans to Councilwoman McCray that shows half of the warehouse would be for a deli to have its kind of shop and deli operations and do catering services, and the other portion would be for it's kind of an innovative use called Charm City Rabbit Hole, where it's going to be a live art exhibition, like for the millennials take selfies in like these cool art rooms, and they might have events that would need liquor licenses, and so.
You don't have, there aren't any plans to have a big dance hall,
Correct.
bring a lot of folks to the area.
The legislation, if you read the whole provision, I don't have it in front of you, there's actually a provision that says the board has the authority to waive the distance restriction, but they still need it requires in statute, community association has to submit a letter of support, as does the board of elders of the place of worship in the close vicinity. So there's several layers of checks before we have to be able to reopen and serve alcoholic beverages there.
So I don't know where you go, but I guess you have to go back to the bill sponsors and see if you can separate
They
it out.
traditionally put like all the 46 district stuff in one bill, and now we're nervous about being included. So put my lobbyist hat on and figure something out.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Akers, I believe that's our morning docket.
That concludes our morning docket.
And recess till 1.
Recess till 1 p.m.
Thank you. Thanks, Brett. Mr. Page, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Now begins the PM session of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, there being no preliminary matters on the PM docket. Case number 1, Orion's Pub, 53-55 South Crescent Street, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.05, small a, prohibited hours on December the 21st, 2019. Violation of Rule 4.05, small b, prohibited hours on December the 21st, 2019. Please come forward.
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the licensees.
Good afternoon. Would all those who are going to testify, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Admission to denials, Mr.
Admission to the first charge and denial to the second.
Okay. Detective? On December 21, the prohibited hours violation, are they identical? No, one's A and one's B, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And let me just take a look. Okay. Detective?
What is the second charge?
It is 4.05B, which says alcoholic beverages may not be served, dispensed, furnished, or given away in any part of the premises during hours when alcoholic beverages sales are prohibited by law.
Whereas the first one says you can't consume after 2.
Okay. All right. All right, let me read my report into the record then. Detective Abraham Gatto, Baltimore City Vice Unit, on 12/21/19 at 02:05 hours. I was observing 53 South Crescent, which is known to me as Orion's. It is now has like a banner says a Toro above it. I looked inside the porthole of the location, noticing that there was lights on inside. I observed an amount of individuals sitting at the bar, some standing and walking. I began knocking on the door to try to gain entrance to this this Lombard and Crescent side of the bar. One of the individuals, a female, kind of pointed to me to go to the back of the bar, where there's another entrance. Before I did so, I looked down into the porthole and saw that there were chairs in front of the door on the Crescent and Lombard entrance exit area. I then went to the rear of the location. I met with a security guard who then took me to the night manager, who was also a security guard, I believe a retired state trooper. I introduced myself and advised him that I was part of the Vice Unit. I was there because the location was operating after hours. There were, he then walked me to the bar where the liquor license was, and there was a night manager. She gave me her ID. There were individuals that were still consuming alcohol when I looked through the porthole. There were alcohol bottles on the bar counter. There was an individual no further than myself and Commissioner Jones here, while I was writing the information for the liquor license, still with a bottle, still drinking right there in front of me. After explaining myself to the security guard, he told me that it was actually beneficial that I had come into the bar to find them operating after hours because he'd had trouble removing the patrons in the past week. People don't want to listen to him. They curse back at him when he says it's time to close the location. So after saying that, I cleared the area and we spoke briefly, and then I advised him that there would be the events would be forwarded to the liquor board. All events occurred in Baltimore City.
And are you frequently told that they're glad you've arrived?
Actually, no. This was a first, and I think it's because there's another establishment up the street that I won't mention by name, but they've had a lot of after-hours issues, and that same crowd has started to come down to this establishment because they were shut down at the time and causing a problem.
Let me ask you one more question.
Yes.
Did you see anyone served?
I cannot say that I observed anyone serving. I can testify that there was a bartender still behind the bar, and she was moving back and forth among the patrons. I kind of disturbed the party. So actual bottle to hand service, was not witnessed by my eyes.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
I'd move to dismiss 405B.
I'd grant the motion. So let's talk about A, all right?
Yeah, let's talk about A. And I think Detective Gatto, he made a lot of points that I was going to make. One is that they did have an influx of more business during this period of time, during the suspension of another establishment. A lot of this was a little bit of miscommunication between the night manager and the owners. They are all aware, and that's why I made this motion. Is there one thing that they swore up and down is we don't serve anybody after 2 o'clock. But these guys didn't want to leave. The chairs in the door there, which is pretty unorthodox, but that was to keep anyone else from coming in. That wasn't to. That was the only purpose.
But
for
they
that.
have security there who can't clear them out?
Well, that's the thing. We've got a retired state trooper, pretty respected. This was not the usual crowd. But nevertheless, no matter what crowd it is, they're going to do what everybody else who has problems like this does and just make a hard last call of 1:30, and everybody's out the door by 1:59.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Did they, anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. On the, and I'm assuming, based on what you told me, that they were cooperative with you because they welcomed you.
Yes, the security guards were cooperative, and only when I arrived then did the patrons say, hey, we better get out of here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the admission of the Rule 4.05A violation and proffers from counsel and testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.05 small a on December 21, 2019. This is, they've had the license for, since June of 17. It's the first violation. So I would impose a $500 fine. I'd give them 30 days to pay it. And I'd warn them to be careful of these patrons because you don't want to come back with this violation.
I concur with the chair.
Find a violation of Rule 4.05A on December 21st, 2019, and also concur with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gata.
Club 2300, 2300 West Baltimore Street, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for a violation of Rule 4.20, small c, small I, Class BD7 licensees open and operating tavern at all times on October the 11th, 2019. A violation of Rule 3.09, small a, restroom facilities and health regulations on October the 11th, 2019. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, October the 11th, 2019. Violation of Rule 3.08, small b, sanitation and safety, January the 7th, 2020. Violation of 3.08, small b, sanitation and safety, January the 10th, 2020. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, January the 17th, 2020. All who are testifying, please come forward. Raise your right hand.
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Counsel, you want to identify yourself for the record?
Abraham Hurtelman, 2300 West Baltimore Street, and Mr. Singh, the current and soon-to-be returning as operator licensee.
Good afternoon. Are these going to be admissions denials? or-
Absolutely, we're going to admit to everything.
Okay. Then, do you want to provide the board with explanations?
Absolutely. It's my understanding, and again, I've looked through the record, there's quite a bit here, that my clients attempted to sell the business about 2 years ago to a willing buyer. At that time, there was a hearing. The hearing never was finalized. I think the hearing was approved, but the license never transferred. The
So the
6
hearing
month
was
time elapsed.
finalized, the transfer was never finalized.
Correct. There was another transfer filed to the same buyer. I believe that hearing was also approved, but again, never finalized. A management agreement was put in place with that buyer, and he's the one who's been operating location for 2 years. I think that the board's investigators and anybody who's been there during these kind of wide variety of violations over the recent months would indicate that it wasn't my clients who were there operating. It wasn't, I'm not saying it's not their responsibility, but they were not there operating locations when these things occurred. It was this kind of buyer slash manager. We have since thrown him out, and my clients are taking over. I did speak to Mr. Chrysomalis earlier about any concerns he has had with my clients in the past, and I don't want to speak for him, but he had indicated that
Nobody can
years
speak
ago,
for Mr. Chrysomalis.
that he had never really had any concerns about their operations. The previous operator, tremendous problems. My clients, never really a huge concern. My clients did speak to the community, and they did get a letter of support that they remain open. And I also did have documentation indicating that their corporation is in good standing as of, I believe, a couple weeks ago.
Do you want to offer those?
Absolutely.
That be received? And And this is from the Fayette Street Outreach,
Correct.
is that right? That's the community organization?
That's my understanding, yes. We do have a member of the community here to testify on their behalf if needed. I'm not sure that that's necessary. We weren't concerned if there were, we were concerned if there were going to be community members coming out. My client has indicated to me that he's got a pretty good relationship with the community. The community has been very frustrated by this. I'm going to call them the operator, I guess. And we're looking to kind of get everything in line. We did file a motion to reopen probably a week ago or a couple days ago at the liquor board. I spoke to Tom, and he had indicated that there was a question as to when the operator closed versus kind of if too much time has passed and therefore the license, needs to be a motion to reopen. My clients indicated that they were open during that time, that the operator was, but we don't have a lot of evidence to prove it. So we did in fact file the motion to reopen. That was stamped in again, I think, a couple days ago. My clients are going to be the operators. They are going to be taking over. There is a plan to transfer it from Droginder to his daughter, but that's probably step 4 or 5 from where we are right now, which is step 1 to get through this hearing.
Okay. Let me just ask our staff, is anybody here who wants to speak to this?
No.
Okay. So here's a problem a bit, Mr. Hurdle. So they entered 2 years ago into a management agreement with somebody to operate the place.
That's correct.
And for the last 2 years, they've been in front of us consistently.
My clients, I don't actually believe they have. I believe
Well,
it's
somebody
been-
has because.
Correct. It's been the operator, for sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they obviously knew he was no good. He started in 2017 with violations, July, September, 18, July, November, 19, March, and April, and May, back here constantly.
I don't want to point the fingers at anyone. I think my clients have been kind of confused as to how to proceed forward over the time. Again, while the violations were occurring, they were being told that these would be resolved. There was also this process of the transfer kind of being perpetually ongoing. The standard liquor contracts typically have a provision that requires that the license transfer or that the hearing be approved.
We approved this manager to do the place before these violations occurred or after these violations?
My understanding is the management agreement was in place. I'm not sure if it's in the record. I was not the
Now,
attorney.
when did we
directly
approve
through
the
this process.
transfer?
I think 2 times it's occurred.
Yes. Be sworn, please.
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Thomas Ackers, Deputy Executive Secretary, Liquor Board. So what Mr. Hurdle is saying is correct. There was a prior application to transfer that the board approved to Mr. Singh. That transfer application expired because they did not complete the transfer in a timely manner. They refiled the transfer.
Right, he was the person receiving the
Different Mr.
transfer?
A different Mr. Singh.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, Mr. Jodinder Singh was transferring to another Mr. Singh, and that first transfer expired. They came before the board again to ask for approval for a transfer. The transfer was approved. During this whole time, there was a management agreement between Mr. Jodinder Singh and Mr. Singh, the other Mr. Singh, to operate the establishment.
So did we know when we allowed the transfer that they were had all these violations?
Yes. Well, when the board allowed the transfer, I'm sorry? Say that
You
again?
said that we approved the transfer.
Yes.
I don't know when that was. I keep asking.
It was,
Back in 2018, okay. And since then, they've been here 3 or 4 times. But before that, so these older violations are his.
older violations are his, and since 2018, I would
It hasn't stopped.
March 2018, they've been they were with the former manager.
Okay. And is it open now?
We have a motion to reopen in. We would,
It's been
after
closed,
discussion with
and you don't know
Mr.
when it
Ackers, I didn't
closed.
want to reopen without, given the violation, we don't want to get one more.
The last inspection that we had at this location was October 2019, indicating that it was open and operating.
Okay.
Did we officially close the establishment at any time?
I don't believe the board ever issued a suspension or a revocation. So the board did not close this establishment. It was, when the transfer was pending, it was still operational under the management agreement.
It appears there were certainly a number of fines, but no suspensions.
All right. Do the commissioners have questions? All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, proffers from council, and testimony received, including, I guess these exhibits have been offered? They're all part of the record, okay. I would find a violation of Rule 4 and the admission of each of these. I'd find a violation of Rule 4.20, small c, small double I, on October 11, 2019, a violation of Rule 3.09, small a, on October 11, 2019, a violation of Rule 4.16 on October 11, 2019, a violation of Rule 3.08, small b, on January 7, 2020, a violation of Rule 3.08, small b, on January 10, 2020, and a violation of Rule 4.16 on January 17, 2020. 6 violations. I would impose $500 fine as to each violation for a total of $3,000, and I'd give them 30 days to pay. I had no sense in suspending them because they're not in operation.
I concur with the chair.
I find a violation of Rule 4.20C double I on October 11, 2019, concur with the $500 fine. Find a violation of Rule 3.09A on October 11th, find and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. Find a violation of Rule 4.16 on October 11th, 2019, concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. Find a violation of Rule 3.08 on January 7, 2020, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. Also find a violation of 3.08 on January 10, 2020, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. And lastly, find a violation of 4.16 and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. And yes, since they're not open, it doesn't make sense to suspend.
But if they want to reopen, they're going to have to get their act together.
There's no question, and the letter of support indicates that they're actively working with the community. We plan to continue that process. My client has indicated there's many members of the community that support them, and we're going to make sure we have that support
Okay.
going forward.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. May we be excused?
Yes.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, investigation report, Agent Perez. Board Exhibit 2, violation report, Inspector Hahn. Exhibit number 3, violation report, Agent Perez. Exhibit number 4, ESTAT report. Exhibit number 5, Department of Transportation investigation report. Lycia Exhibit 1, letter of support from Fayette Street Outreach. And Lycia Exhibit 2, article of reinstatement.
Frederick Station Saloon, 4019 Frederick Avenue, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of 3.08 small b, sanitation and safety on December the 23rd, 2019. Please come forward.
Counselor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Sean Harvey. I represent Sumi Kang and KNS Enterprise, Inc. I spoke with my client 2 days ago by phone. She asked me to be here to represent her. She's not here currently. I don't know where she is.
Do you have authority to admit?
No, I really thought that we should deny it. That's what I wanted to talk
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and do that. Would you raise your right hand, please?
Unfortunately, I can't testify.
I understand, but, you know, she's on notice.
You're gonna
We have service, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the world doesn't wait.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand.
You can't hold it until later? Maybe she'll show
Well,
up.
if you want,
Maybe
we
later.
can put it at the end of the docket, okay? But I'm not going to put it off to another day if they don't bother to show up, so. Yeah, I'll hold it till the end of the docket.
It was an intentional thing with her. She's very conscientious normally. Thank you.
Okay, well, she doesn't have a very good record, that's the other thing, Mr. Harvey, you know. Okay, all right, let's do the next one.
Okay, we're going to move to case number 4, Good Times Liquor and Bar Lounge, 1600 West Baltimore Street, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 3.08 small b, sanitation and safety on October the 23rd, 2019. Please come forward.
With those who are going to testify, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you Mr. Kim, sir?
Yes, sir.
Would you step up to the microphone, please? You're charged with a violation of Rule 3.08 small b on October 23. Do you admit or deny it?
Yes.
You admit it? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Did it happen or not?
It happened with the explanation.
The explanation's fine. I just want to know whether you're admitting or denying. Your name, ma'am, please?
My name is Tara Knight.
Okay. And what is your relationship?
She's doing the manager.
She's the manager?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to give us the explanation then? Were you there?
Yes.
Okay. If you step up to the microphone, please.
It was a trash violation, and at that point in time, the guy that usually clean up outside, he passed away, unfortunately.
That day?
Well, that night, he
Oh,
passed
okay.
away.
The night before this?
Yes.
What you're saying?
And if you look at the pictures, this is from the residents that live upstairs and not from the bar. I picked-
You want to offer that?
Yes.
Okay. That's your argument? That there are people who have apartments above?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. And so, if I'm understanding you correctly, they put their trash out, you put your trash out, and the man who normally takes it away had died, so he wasn't there to take it away?
Yes, we was unclear that he died until like a day or two later.
Okay. And have you made arrangements since then for trash removal?
Yes.
Okay. Have we had any further problems with them?
No.
Okay, you have to identify yourself, I'm sorry.
Inspector Chase, Liquor Board? No.
Okay. Have they been cooperative with you?
Yes.
All right. Commissioners have questions?
I do.
Go ahead, please.
All right. One, you say someone live above the bar?
Yes.
Is that behind the boarded window
No, they live upstairs.
or further up?
Yes.
Are you familiar with how you're supposed to put your trash out?
No, sir.
Looking at this picture here, you're supposed to have enough trash containers to accommodate all trash in a can with tight-fitted lids, and I don't see that here. So even waiting for the person to do whatever he's supposed to do, it's in violation in this state.
I think they give you, like, the residents got, like, it's like 2 residents upstairs, and we have, like, three, and you have, like, 3 or 4 trash cans, the green ones that the city gave out. We don't take out the bar trash out there. He usually take the bar trash to the dump. We don't
You're
even,
saying none of this is bar trash?
no, sir.
So I called the city, get the extra trash can, because people are living 3 tenants with me, the 4 tenants living upstairs. So I got the 1 trash can and the other one, the tenant, they should get another trash can, but they didn't send me another extra trash can. So trash can right now, the tenant always threw the trash outside, inside that I complained. One day, I was so mad, and I already told that the people don't throw the trash outside, only when trash can is full.
So now,
But they did, and one day that I checked my video camera outside, and that I find out that one of the tenants threw the trash can, trash is outside. So without the trash can, it's already full, but they put it on the outside. So that I complain, they don't do no more. And also that I move the trash can behind the building, people in the neighborhood can't see any trash on the front side. So that I moved. So trash can right now stayed behind the building, actually.
But you do know you have a greater responsibility than the tenants up there because of your establishment, that you must keep the area clean?
Yes, that's that I wanted to clean up, this one. So inspector came here, told me, so I told it to my tenant the first time. But keep doing the next time the inspector came here, that this is a serious problem. So I told the tenant that don't put any trash the outside and the front side. It's a business place like that. Or tenant should be through the trash that behind the building. That's what I told them right now, sir.
Have you been back there?
I have.
You have? And
Yes.
has it cleaned up now?
Yes, the trash cans are gone.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anything further? Commissioner? Anything? No. All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the exhibit and the testimonies received, and the admission of the Rule 3.08 small b violation on October 23, and a fine, a violation of Rule 3.08 small b on October 23, 2019. accept a lot of your explanation, but you do not have a good record before this board. I've had the license for 10 years almost, and been back here repeatedly for sales to minors, disturbing community, health violations, et cetera. So while I would normally maybe give you a bit of a break here, I'd impose a $750 fine and give you a 30-day period to pay it.
I concur with the chair.
Find a violation of Rule 3.08B on October 23rd, 2019, and concur with the imposition of a $750 fine.
Good luck, sir. Thank you.
I call exhibits for the
Oh,
record.
thank you.
Board Exhibit 1, investigation report, Inspector Chase, licensee Exhibit 1, photo.
Jerry's Bar, 604-06 Poplar Grove Street, Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 3.08 small b, sanitation and safety, December the 26th, 2019. Please come forward.
All of you, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you Mr. Park, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you admit or deny this violation?
I'm sorry.
Do you admit the violation or deny the violation?
I admit the violation.
Okay. Do you want to explain what happened?
Yeah, there was the December 26th. They usually pick up the trash on Wednesday, which is the December 25th. It's a holiday. And then there was a lot of trash that I don't know who put a trash right in front of my store. So some people that I usually clean up myself, and she did the clean before all the time.
When you point to her, can you tell us her name, please?
Brenda.
Brenda Murphy. Thank you, ma'am.
And so that day was the December 26th was the Thursday. I think they need to pick up the trash on the Thursday because they didn't pick up the trash on because holiday on the December 25th.
Did they come the next day?
They come in next day but late. They come in late, but she came here before they pick up the trash.
She was there at about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell us, has this been an ongoing problem? Is this a unique problem? Was it the holiday?
Inspector Tutup, Baltimore City Liquor Board. This area is a mess, but this trash was clearly in front of his place. The alleyway was a mess. It had not been cleaned up. The trash bags were ripped open, so they had clearly been there a fair amount of time. So that's why I issued the violation.
Are you saying that it's their responsibility for what was in the alleyway, or what?
Yes, that's my responsibility.
Okay. All right. And have you been back?
I did do it follow-up, and they had cleaned, and someone else had placed stuff in front, and he did take it away again.
Okay, so he's been cooperative with you?
Yes, sir, very.
Commissioners have questions?
No question.
All right, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received, the exhibit, and the admission, I find a violation of Rule 3.08 small b on December 26, 2019. Mr. Park, I think you've been responsible about this now once it was brought to your attention. You have some other violations from last year and the year before, and then one way back in 2011. So I would, again, impose a $750 fine and give you 30 days to pay it.
However, I pay $100 fine already.
To us or to whom?
I think there's a Baltimore City.
For the trash people?
Yes.
I'll make it $650. You agree with that?
I also change my concur to a different concur.
Find a violation of Rule 3.08B on December 26, 2019. And I assume the $100 are paid to the Environmental Control Board would be my guess.
Exactly.
So I would concur with the imposition of a $650 fine.
Thank you. Please be careful.
Thank you. Okay, I'll clean it up.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, investigation report, Inspector Tudhope.
Records.
Sheldon Lounge, 4325-27 Bel Air Road. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.20 small c, small I, Class BD7 licensees open and operating tavern at all times on December the 12th, 2019. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Sean Harvey represent the licensee, one of whom is present, Mr. Gurinder Singh Sandhu.
Good afternoon. Would all those who are going to testify please raise your right hand?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Harvey, will they admit or deny?
That's a denial.
Okay. Is that you, Agent, or you?
Me, sir.
Okay, you're up.
Inspector Tuttle, Baltimore City Liquor Board. On 12/12/20, on about 4:30, Acting Chief Chris Morales entered the establishment at 4325 Bel Air Road, known as Sheldon Lounge. Upon entering the establishment undercover, Inspector Chris Morales asked to use the back area for a drink. Mr. Satinder Singh stated that the bartender was not there and the bar was not open for business. Acting Chief exited the building and informed Inspector Tuddup that he was refused entry. Inspector Tuddup entered Sheldon Lounge and made contact with Mr. Singh and identified herself and Acting Chief Chris O'Malley. Mr. Satantar Singh was informed of violation. Inspector Tuddup performed a full inspection, and Mr. Singh was informed that if the bar area was closed, that he was not permitted to sell liquor out front and needed to close the establishment until the bartender was able to open the bar area. All events occurred in Baltimore City, Maryland.
You have questions for the agent? You may as well ask Agent Chris
Yes,
Morales since
he
he's
was
here.
present, right. Mr. Chris Morales, hi. Were you later told that you can go into the bar from the bartender who was the clerk who was present?
Absolutely not.
You weren't. And if he were to testify that he said that you could go into the bar area and you said, no, sorry, you just get one shot at it and that's it. You didn't say that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Were the lights on in the bar area?
No. The TV, I believe, was on, but you can't see because it's tinted glass.
When the inspector just mentioned that you conducted a complete inspection, did you go into the bar area?
I did. I went in a couple minutes after the inspector went in, so they might have turned the... No, I think the lights were off and the TV was on. And the 3 strategically placed beer bottles that are there every time I go that are washed out, set up, were there also.
So there wasn't a bartender in there by the name of Ved?
No, sir. They said the bartender was sick and that they called somebody else and somebody else was on their way in and that they would not sell alcohol from the liquor, from the packaged goods section till the time that the bartender came. There was no bartender. There was one individual. There was 2 individuals there. There was 2 individuals behind the counter.
Both of them were behind the counter?
Behind the counter of the packaged goods.
Who was the other person?
I didn't identify the other person. But they said that the bartender was sick and they were calling somebody else to come and open the bar.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? And once confronted, were they cooperative?
Yes, they're always cooperative, but it's just an ongoing issue with this tavern not being open.
Okay. Do you want to put on evidence?
Object to that as well. The record could show that. But yes, I'd like to call Mr. Gurdal Singh.
Yes, I was a bartender over there. I provide.
Your first name?
Gurdal Singh.
Gurdal.
D-I-A-L.
D-I-A-L. Last name S-I-N-G-H.
Now, is he on the license or not?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Gurinder Singh
I
Sandhu.
was work over there. I was a bartender server over there.
You work there?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually that day, my son have appointment for a doctor. Mostly my wife take care of appointment. So she not feel good that day. So she called me, you can take my son in the doctor. Then I called the Satinder Singh, like 2 hours stay with my work, like help my co-worker. So I come back with 2 hours. So he mostly work in the 6-day liquor store, other store. They like classes building over there. We know loud like 6 days come
The person you got to replace you while you took your son to the doctor usually works at another liquor store?
Another liquor store,
okay.
the 6-day liquor store.
And that's Crosstown Liquors?
Yes, okay. They have no bar over there. So when the inspectors came over there, maybe they asked to open the door. His mind like nobody allowed, like come 6-day store, open the door, open the bar. He refused that inspector. Then my co-worker the other side, he's no board, he served that liquor, then I'm over there. But until when the inspectors go, he was on the side, my other guy, he asked only Satinder Pal, can I come inside? He was misunderstanding, they was refused the inspector to come inside. This is my doctor permit, everything. So after 2 hours, I come back and
This
open
is
the
proof
bar.
that his son was at the doctor's.
I was take care of that bar. He was come only temporary, like 2 hours, but he got misunderstanding about he refused the inspector to come inside.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No.
No questions.
Anything further, Mr.
Well,
Harmon?
just to emphasize that this person who was the clerk there at the time, his name is again Satinder Singh, doesn't usually work there. This was the only day he was there, and he was there to replace the normal worker.
What is their routine when this gentleman can't be there?
Well,
What is that?
what do you usually do if you're not able to be present?
Mostly I was there, my wife take care of my, what I mostly work in the home. But that time, she not feel good, so I was go over there. That's why I call like extend the passing, stay with my coworker like 2 hours, I come back. So that's what they told, misunderstanding, the inspector coming that time, he was refused that, all that. But my bar is open all the time, I'm served all the time over there.
Were the lights on in the bar at the time?
Yeah, TV is on there.
How would he know he wasn't
The
there?
small light is on, not like a big light on. The TV is on there, lights on there.
I mean, I don't think he knows.
So that's the whole misunderstanding about that guys not serve him, the inspectors come allowed inside.
That's our case.
So I can request you, that's like.
okay,
on
that's
the-
okay.
All right, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, exhibits received, testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.20, small c, small double I, on December 12, 2019. So the record shows a prior BD7 violation 3 years ago, sales to minors twice. Since then, it's not a good record. I would, again, impose a $750 fine, give them 30 days to pay.
I concur with the chair.
Find a violation of Rule 4.20C, 2 small I, on December 12, 2019. Concur with the imposition of $700.
Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record.
You may have that. I hope your son's okay.
That could be appealed. Thank you.
Call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, investigation report, Inspector Tudhope. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report,
Mr.
Inspector Tudhope.
Chairman.
Did the others show up?
Frederick Station is here. Just let you know.
All right, Janae's 2625-27 North Duncan Street, Class D, beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 3.08, small b, sanitation and safety on January the 7th, 2020. Violation of Rule 4.08, small a, relations with wholesalers on January the 17th, 2020. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kudensky, 320 North Charles Street.
You-
Moved.
Good afternoon. Those who are going to testify, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Admissions or denials?
Denials.
Okay. Who's going to testify?
I will.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Agent Perez, Baltimore City Liquor Board. Based on a community complaint for illegal trash dumping and per directions of Acting Chief Chris Amalis, I conducted a follow-up inspection at 625-27 North Duncan Street, better known as Janae's 2. Upon arrival approximately 3 p.m., I arrived at the establishment, found the establishment was closed. I made observation of the front of the establishment, and it was observed clean and clear of any trash. After further investigation, I observed several black trash bags and several boxes containing empty liquor bottles of different brands dumped at an empty lot located right behind the establishment on the 600 block of North Carleton Avenue.
Okay. Are you going to testify about the other violation, or shall we do these one at a time?
Why don't we do them ad seriatim, probably?
Okay. Do you want to question him?
Yeah. So this, where you found this debris and stuff that was not on the licensed premises?
No, it was an empty lot right behind the establishment.
Big empty lot behind there.
Yeah, about space for 2 row houses.
2 row houses. And there's a lot of vacant houses in that area, is that correct?
I didn't make that observation.
All right, so the debris in where the licensed premises has a fence in the back?
Yes.
And inside the fence, did you look in there and saw that there were trash containers?
I did not look over the fence.
All right, so what you saw was not on the licensed premises, was on the lot behind the licensed premises.
Correct.
Okay? So that lot is not owned by the, as far as you know, by the licensee, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you check to see if there were any housing violations for the lots behind in the 600 block of North Callington Avenue?
I didn't.
Why didn't you do that?
Chief Chris O'Malley was,
Now, don't blame it on the chief.
he was forwarding the information over to housing
All
for
right, so-
the trash.
Who did you get your community complaints from?
It was just forwarded to me as a community complaint per Chief Chris O'Malley.
So you got it from Chris Amalis, not the complaints didn't come to you?
Correct.
All right, and the complaints were that there was debris being dumped in the lots behind this establishment?
Yes.
All right. I don't have further questions.
Okay. Anything else on that issue?
Well, I got some testimony.
All right, go ahead.
On this, I've got the licensee son here. She
Can you
said-
identify yourself for the record, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Rodney Brown.
Rodney
Brown.
Brown.
Yes, sir.
Did a search for the area there, and the properties on the 600 block of North Duncan Street in Collington. The areas back there, a lot of them are owned by the mayor and city council of Baltimore. And along with that, I got housing violations for trash and debris that's been there prior to them even being licensees. And I would submit those for the board to take a look at. None of those properties are owned by the licensee. That's the block directly behind the licensed establishment. And the license was transferred, according to your record, sometime in August, September, and they opened. The area largely has a lot of vacant houses and lots and so forth. The licensee will, through our son, testify that they have private trash pickup. He has pictures of his private pickup behind, there's a fence behind his property, and the trash pickup comes and picks it up, and they take it away. There's about 3 or 4 other liquor establishments within 2 or 3 blocks of this place, Beck's Liquors and a bunch of other ones. At this point, Mr. Brown, you want to show the paper from your trash hauler?
Yes, sir.
This is a gentleman, picture trash up, is that correct?
2 days a week, yes, sir.
Trash is inside the fence?
He backs up to the gate, and we give him the cans, he takes it out.
When did you begin that?
I've been doing that since we've been there, sir. He comes Tuesdays and Fridays.
Show the pictures with the fence. So your property is fenced, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Take it easy, knock the
Sorry.
microphone out.
Okay, just pictures are coming out the back door, coming out This is the big open lot he was talking about. All that stuff is up there.
So this is what, the back of your place?
Coming out the back door. But that's all.
That's
Then
the
you walk
lot,
up to the fence,
what you're
right?
seeing is a lot on the other
And
side of
then
the
right behind
fence.
it is the,
That's
It's a lot on the other
sorry,
side.
can I, am allowed to turn my phone on so I can show you my gate and everything?
Sure.
Okay.
and while you're doing that, have you been back, Inspector?
Yes, I have.
Is it cleaned up?
It is.
Did you ever get a chance to speak with anybody there?
No.
I'm sorry.
I have a question. How did you tie this establishment to the trash?
All it was trash from the bar, just liquor bottles, boxes.
And the addresses in the mix of the trash?
No, I didn't observe. Like, I have my pictures. So liquor, and I found evidence.
Wait, he's not, I don't finish.
Let me finish, okay.
I found evidence on that trash that led me to the second violation.
Okay.
Now, you want to show the picture of your fence where you keep your trash?
This is where he keeps stuff inside the yard. That's the big fence all the way around.
So at the very end of your yard, there's a fence. And on the other side of the fence is the lot.
That's that big lot right there on the other side of the fence.
Okay. You keep your trash inside in those
Yes, sir.
containers.
Yes, sir.
And,
Did you want to see it?
And he saw it.
and along with it, is it fair to say, you told me that sometimes people throw their trash into your yard?
A lot of people do, but I'll pick it up if it's a couple bags out there and just throw it inside my yard because I know the guys want to come pick it up. But that happens on a regular basis. By it being an open lot, you have a lot of empty houses there, and people just throw trash on that lot. They really do.
So was most of the trash liquor bottles?
2 trash cans, about 4 or 5 black bags, and the rest were boxes with liquor bottles inside.
And how many other liquor establishments were within 2 or 3 blocks of yours?
3.
All right, so there's 3 other ones besides yourself, is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else on this issue?
No.
Who's going to testify on the other violation?
I will.
Go ahead, Agent.
Because of the observation made on, while investigating the trash complaint, I observed some of the boxes had labels for a retailer located on Frederick Avenue. So since I attributed the trash to the establishment, I made an assumption that the establishment was purchasing from other than a wholesaler. Started calling wholesalers and found out that they didn't have account setups to buy liquor through the proper channels. I contacted Mr. Brown, explained to him that I needed to go inside the establishment to conduct a full routine inspection, which included going over licenses, permits, and also inventory. I set up that appointment 3 days after my initial phone call. Visited the establishment, all paperwork was good, licenses were up to date. However, he couldn't produce any invoices at that time. He repeatedly said that all his liquor came from the distributor. However, he stated that his invoices were at his accountant's office. I instructed him to forward those invoices to me within 3 business days, which on the 3rd business days, he provided 2 invoices, but that didn't match any of the liquor that was observed on premise the day of my inspection.
Okay, questions?
Where is that liquor now?
Comptroller's confiscated the liquor.
And where's it, where is it though? Comptroller's where?
Maryland Comptroller
And where did they
confiscated the
take-
liquor
Where did they take it?
to their facility.
Well, you know where that is?
Annapolis.
You sure?
Yes.
So what part of 4.08 are you alleging the licensee violated?
Well, I mean, that calls for a legal conclusion. I don't know that he's
But
prepared.
there's a charging document. If it's not in the conjunctive, then it's in the disjunctive. There's 3 or 4 different portions of it, one of which, and if I may be so bold to read it, says the licensee may not purchase the alcoholic beverages except from a licensed manufacturer or wholesaler. You don't have any proof of that, do you?
I do.
So who did he purchase it from?
Not a wholesaler.
How do you know that?
He didn't have proof of sale.
So if I told you that that alcohol was on the premises, would that make any difference to you?
What you mean?
It was left there by the prior owner.
It was not. He stated there was no bulk transfer.
Right.
And
okay.
he bought the place without any inventory.
No,
That's
not-
what he stated to me the day of my inspection.
I'm going to submit to the board a copy to indicate that there was no inventory of beer, wine, and liquor purchased in part of the sale from a secured creditor. When a bill of sale from a secured creditor cannot sell alcohol to another retailer.
So what's the point?
The settlement was in, you had the hearing and it was finally transferred, and your records indicate August or September of 2000 and, that same year, 2019. Quite simply, if I may, when his mom bought the place, was from a secured credit, which means somebody defaulted, the place had been closed for about 6 or 8 months, and that was inventory that was left on the premises, wasn't purchased.
How do we know that?
Because he's going to testify to it, he said it was. And it was, and that purchase wasn't purchased from anybody at that point because a secured credit couldn't sell it. Whether they rightfully or wrongly used it, somebody has to make that conclusion. It's not unusual that when you buy a bar or a restaurant, that there's open inventory that's sold that's never
Maybe
shown.
not, but it's 15 months later and he's still selling the leftover inventory?
I could sell whiskey and beer 100 years later. Strong
It's a
stuff.
credibility issue, I think.
Louis the 14th, 16th, was it 37? I don't know what it's called.
So has he purchased anything since he took over the place?
Oh,
Did he have records of that?
Oh, sure. Got him here.
Did you review the records of what he's
The
purchased?
purchases he made were done right after my inspection because, like I said, just give me 1 second. On January 17th, he didn't have any invoices on hand. On January 22nd, he provided 2 invoices dated January 21st, 2020,
So it was afterwards.
after my inspection. While I was doing my investigation, he didn't have account setups with Chesapeake Beverage. He didn't have account setups with Republic National or Breakthrough. And he didn't have account set up with Bond Distributor. The only purchases that could be located were under the previous licensee for a case of Heineken, February 27, 2019, and Breakthrough Beverage on March the 5th, 2019.
Who was the previous licensee?
I don't have that information.
Larry
Hey.
Solomon.
How do you know who bought it?
Corporation. Name is on the invoice.
Well, then who was it?
The T-Spot.
Who was it?
T-Spot LLC.
Okay. And you checked it, did you check the other ones? He had to have a CR number, didn't he, to buy?
He didn't have any account set up at the time that I checked with the wholesalers.
All right, but did you know now that he's got purchases that he made?
He does after the violation.
Oh, then you're alleging there's a violation. What happened? And you don't know even where is the things that were seized?
I was there while it was
Who
seized.
took them?
Comptroller's agent,
What's the name of the?
Michelle Mango.
And they took them, but you don't know where they are.
No.
Okay, anything else?
So there's no evidence here of the product that was taken?
No.
Okay.
Excuse me, did you witness the products being on the premises?
So it was just, they weren't
Yes.
purchased.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anything further?
There's a bifurcation in 4.08. The health, I think, I've pretty much disposed of, that their violations were by somebody else on a lot that wasn't even his. There's no evidence that he dumped it. He has his own pickup. There's a fence there. They dump it on there. The other one was that it was a purchase from a secure creditor, and the question is whether or not that's a violation if it's left on the premises or not.
Okay.
I don't know if I would make that determination, but you will.
Commissioners have any questions? Okay.
I mean, I just have a hard time believing that he bought this license he got this license in August of 2019, and it wasn't until after the inspector showed up on January 18th or 17th that he decided to
Well, they were
purchase
only
from.
opening late in the afternoons and the evenings until they got there on their feet, so they were selling off whatever was there.
It's just
I mean,
my
it's not-
observation.
I know. What? Who's talking back here?
Chief Chris Morales, Baltimore City Liquor Board. After Agent Perez and the controller's agents went to the location, 492 bottles were seized by the controller's office
Of,
of alcohol.
tell me what they were.
We'll have that report from the controller's office once they
Is
receive
it
it.
here? We don't have it.
But the agent sent me a message stating that they took 492 bottles off the premises
And where are the bottles?
in their bonded location.
This is not fun. Where is it?
I don't know where it is.
Nobody knows where it is. It was just somebody's Christmas party.
All right, let's,
I don't want to be cynical, but nobody ever sees that. I had one time from Harvey's Liquors, they brought them all the liquor in here, and they dropped most of it on the floor, right in this room here.
all right, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received, and any exhibits that have been received, I find a violation of Rule 3.08 small b on January 7, 2020, and a violation of Rule 4.08 small a on January 17, 2020. This licensee has had the license only since 2019, has no history of violations, and I'm willing to give him a pass on the trash because while it may very well have been his, I don't think it was proved to my satisfaction that it was necessarily his. As to the relations with wholesalers, I do believe the testimony of the agent, and I think the evidence is sufficient to sustain the violation, so I'd impose first violation, a $500 fine. I give him 30 days to pay.
I concur with the chair.
Find a violation of Rule 3.08 sanitation safety, concur with the imposition of no fine on that. I think there's some confusion, and but it sounds like you're trying to do the right thing. Appreciate that. Violation of Rule 4.08A on January 17, 2020, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Agent Perez. Board Exhibit 2, aerial map. Board Exhibit 3, Investigation Report, Agent Perez. Licensee Exhibit 1, 6 housing code violation notices. Licensee Exhibit 2, photos. Licensee Exhibit 3, bill of sale. Licensee Exhibit 4, bulk sale letter. Licensee Exhibit 5, licensee letter. Thank you.
We're going to go back to case number 3 on the docket. Frederick Station Saloon, 4019 Frederick Avenue, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of 3.08 small b, sanitation and safety on December the 23rd, 2019. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. Sean Harvey, represent the licensee, Ms. Kang, to my left.
Good afternoon. Would you ladies raise your right hands, please?
I swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Admission or denial, Mr. Harvey?
Denial.
Okay, so agent?
Inspector Chase Liquor Board. On December the 23rd, 2019, at approximately 5:12, I arrived at Frederick Station Saloon, located at 4019 Frederick Avenue. When I arrived, I observed several boxes found outside in the front of the establishment. The licensee was given multiple warnings about putting trash out, despite trash day being on Tuesday. The licensee was told to put the trash out at the end of closing or early in the morning on trash pickup. A violation was issued for safety and sanitation.
Questions for the inspector?
Just a few, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Inspector, were other establishments in the area? Were there other establishments in the area, other?
Yes,
liquor stores?
there's two. There's two establishments in the area.
And did any of those other ones have their, I guess, boxes sitting in front of their establishments?
I was not paying attention because the complaint was called to Frederick Station Saloon.
Okay. Now, you just testified that trash pickup is on Tuesday, is that correct?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact that actually the trash pickup is on a Wednesday?
It's Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
Trash is Thursday.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
On a Thursday.
I was told trash pickup was Tuesday.
Well, actually, I'll have my client testify that recyclables are picked up on Tuesdays.
Okay.
Are you aware of that? So this really wasn't trash, it was recyclables.
Well, I have a rule that states that trash or collection, whatever you want to call it, whether it be recyclable or trash, it cannot be placed outside no later than 6 a.m. on the day of or 6 p.m. prior to. This was out 5:12 p.m.
So by 48 minutes, you violated her for putting her recyclables out. Is that basically what you're testifying to?
Yes.
Okay.
If y'all would
no
like to
further
see the rule, it's right here.
I believe you. But it was paper, right? It wasn't liquor bottles and
Yes, it
other
was.
stuff.
I can show you.
So it's like boxes of papers and things, files and whatever.
Looks like it would be for recycling, though.
That's what it was.
It does look like that.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions of the inspector.
All right, thank you, Agent.
Ms. Kang, could you testify about, first of all, the type of things that were placed in front of your establishment?
It's, I took pictures. It's recyclables. So recyclables are put out on Monday to be picked up on Tuesday.
And what time of day do you put them out?
So normally, everybody starts putting it out around 1 o'clock, but then the mayor did a little walk around and they asked us to put it out later. So on this particular day that she showed up, she came about 5:12. I left at 5. So I told them to put the boxes out at 5. Normally, we keep them in the area, and I put it out a little bit later. But the problem was on that day, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to get back before closing. And recyclables can be picked up sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes they come at 10 o'clock in the morning, so it's unpredictable. So I told them to put it out, but everybody puts out their recyclables at this, around that same time.
What is this? Identify this, please, this picture.
Yeah, this is how we stock up our boxes and our recyclables to be put out.
It will be received.
And
what is this a
yeah.
picture of?
This is a picture of Collins Market. This is how everybody in the neighborhood does it.
And where is that located in relation to your
It's
town?
it's like right off to the right side of our establishment.
Okay, and when was that picture taken?
This was taken when she dropped off the letter, which again was on a Monday, and it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Can I interrupt for just a second? So, Inspector, have you been back?
Yes.
Have you had any problems with them since?
No, they, I actually spoke with, her, husband, and he told me that they leave it in the store now, so when I went, it was inside.
I think we have a technical violation, but I don't know how the fellow commissioners feel. I'm not, she doesn't have a great record.
But
That's a problem.
I don't want to interrupt.
But
while
this
you're
is a different thing. But I think I'd be willing to find a technical violation but not impose a sanction in this case if my colleagues agree.
I would agree.
I concur.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to find, based on all the evidence, a violation of Rule 3.08 small b on December 23, 2019. It was Christmas week, so you get a Christmas present this time. But you do have a very charred record here, so you better be careful before you come back next time.
We're working on everything that you guys have recommended that we do, and like I said, as far as that, it was recyclable. If she wants
I
us
believe
to
you.
put it out later, we can.
No, I think this issue is fine. It's just that you've got other issues.
Right.
Okay? Thank you.
Admin fee? Are we keeping the admin fee?
Let's waive the admin.
Waive it, okay, thank you. Medical exhibits for the record?
I didn't? I thought we did. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I concur too with the violation, finding the violation of Rule 3.08A, and no imposition of a fine and waiving the administrative fee this instance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also concur with the violation and waiving the fee.
Did you need that picture?
Do we still have, do you want it back?
This is it.
Want it back?
No, if you guys
evidence.
need to keep it,
All right.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Medical exhibits for the
Thank you,
record?
Inspector.
Board Exhibit 1, investigation report. Inspector Chase, licensee Exhibit 1, 2, for 1 photo.
Are we finished with our docket, Mr. Page?
Yes, we are, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until Thursday, February the 27th, 5 p.m. Evening docket.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.